Hey everyone, welcome to Coach Carson TV. Today I want to talk to you about goals. Goals have been really important for me, as far back as I can remember, playing sports, playing football in college, and into my real estate investing business, and everything I've done as an entrepreneur and really as a person. Goal setting has given me a lot of direction. But what I want to talk to you today is a little nuance on that idea called your highest goal. I'm going to unpack this idea, but it's about how to have a goal that gives you direction every single day, every single morning, something you can work on no matter what specifically you're shooting for with your business, with your real estate investing. And so I'm going to unpack that idea. I'm going to bring in some ancient philosophers to help me out with that. And we're getting started right now. Hey there, I'm Chad Carson. You can also call me Coach. And if you're new here, this is a show all about investing in real estate so that you can achieve financial independence and do more of what matters. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss anything. I'm now going to go behind the camera, do a little drawing to explain what I mean by highest goal. Now, you might have noticed from some of my other videos that I like to draw. It helps me think. And so I'm going to draw this out for you. And this is actually something I do every single morning. Sometimes it's 1 minute, sometimes it's 5 or 10 minutes, but I do a lot of journaling, and specifically with goals, it helps me, and it might help you to write down what's important to you, what you're aiming at, what you're trying to accomplish. And you might also notice that every single episode of my podcast, every single video that I do here on YouTube, I bring up at the beginning of the show that this show is all about real estate investing, financial independence, and doing more of what matters. And in large part, a big part of the content is about real estate investing. And I love getting practical and nitty gritty, telling you how to use seller financing, how to find good deals, how to get into property management and managing your own properties and producing rental income and analyzing deals. Like, those tactics are very important. And so it makes sense when you're thinking about goals that, real estate investing, buying a certain number of properties, a certain amount of cash flow might come up as one of your top goals. But I also mentioned financial independence. And the reason I do is that real estate is basically just a tool. It's just a vehicle that gets you to some financial goals. And financial independence for me is this state where you have income and you have wealth paying for your living expenses, either in small part, if you're at the beginning of your journey, maybe you just have an emergency fund, maybe you have just started climbing up that mountain. But like, wherever you are on that continuum of financial independence, that's really the goal that we're trying to accomplish with our real estate investing, is to use that tool to achieve financial independence. But the reason I bring up doing what matters, because I even think beyond financial independence, and I think we all kind of resonate with this at some point, is that the reason we're trying to accomplish and be successful with our money isn't just the money itself. Money is just another tool. The tool, in my mind, at least, and you could argue the highest goal of real estate investing, of financial independence, is actually spending our most precious resource, which is our time. So your personal time. You and I have 24 hours in a day, 365 days in a year. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. So this time that we have is precious. And so one reason I keep bringing that up is that doing what matters, doing the things that are important to you and spending your time on those really is a big part of the goal. So if you're, I've been guilty of this in my career. If I'm out there trying to buy a certain number of properties, because that's a goal that I've heard somebody else has had, and I'm trying to do that and I'm trying to copy them, that might work at first. But what if you get off track and you're not spending the time, or you're not moving towards a place where you're doing what matters? That has been a big part of the message. And that's something I try to journal about every day. Like, let's focus on what matters. What are the things that matter to me? I actually write those down. What are my values? Who are the people who are important to me? Journal about those every single morning. But I actually don't stop there. And so I want to introduce another idea to you from a psychologist, you could call him a philosopher too, from the 20th century, named Abraham Maslow. So I want to unpack a little bit more from him that will help you think about the highest goal. Abraham Maslow was a psychologist that focused on something called the hierarchy of needs. So in talking about goals, I just mentioned doing what matters to me as one of our highest goals, as something that kind of encompasses everything else we're doing. But what is it that actually matters to us as human beings? That's what Abraham Maslow studied. And I found his pyramid of needs interesting. And modern psychologists have sort of analyzed this, and it's not necessarily that you have to do one before another anymore. Sometimes you can do some of one and get to the other. But I want to talk about these because as you're thinking about your goals, each of us kind of fit into these categories more or less at different points of our life. The first one is physiological. So these are things like just having shelter and food and water and sort of your basic kind of animal needs. We all need that just to be alive. And so if you're in a place financially or whatever else in your life where you're just trying to get the basics met, that might be your highest goal at that point. And like striving towards that might be just fine. But once you get some of those satisfied, you also start thinking about things like safety, like having good health, like having personal safety for your family. And those, again, it's kind of more of a primal need, but you get these basics, until you get these basics taken care of, it's kind of hard to focus on everything else when you're having to worry about your health or you're having to worry about safety of your family. And so very important. And if that's what you're focusing on, great. But once you get those taken care of, you also start thinking about things like love and belonging. So we are social creatures, and Maslow is just acknowledging that relationships and having both friendships, both our personal intimate relationships, all of these things are a human need for us, and having goals and prioritizing those are important. He also said self-esteem, so having respect both for ourselves and having accomplishing things in the public sphere. Those are important. Those are something that a need we have. But then finally, and one that's kind of was new to me and that is really emphasized in my own goal, every morning when I'm writing my goals, is this concept of self-actualization. So it's saying that we could satisfy all of these things. We could pay for our bills. We could have a nice, safe house that we live in. We could live in a safe area. We could have nice cars. We have good friendships. And yet we could go to a job every single day and feel empty and feel like our life is just kind of dead. There's no meaning to it. And in my conversations with lots of people, as I've talked about the financial independence and kind of been in the financial independence movement, I found this need to self-actualize. He called it almost like soul oxygen, that you have oxygen for your body, you have these other needs, but your soul like craves to do what it potentially could do. And so his quote actually, and I'm going to probably butcher this because I'm thinking of this off the top of my head, is what one can be, one must be. So if you're sitting in one job and you're doing it because of your safety needs or just to pay for things, and yet hey, I could be starting this nonprofit and impacting people in a way to do something important that's really important in my life. Or my kids are at home and I could be spending more time with them, or somebody else who's important to me, and I'm not doing that, I'm not meeting my potential. What I could be is not what I'm doing, and there's a gap. And so as you're thinking about your higher goals, one of the things when I'm journaling every morning, I actually do a little version of this triangle, write it down, circle the top to remind myself that one of our highest goals is to become our best, is to kind of reduce the gap between what we're capable of and what we're doing. And the thing that I really love about that is you could be doing that every single day, whether you are just starting, whether you've already accomplished a lot of your financial goals. This is kind of the summum bonum. That's a Latin word, which I'm going to talk about here in a second with another ancient philosopher named Aristotle, who's actually Greek. But this idea that the highest goal, the biggest thing in life, that whatever goal you're trying to accomplish is to self-actualize, is to be your best. What you can be, you must be. So let's close the video. I want to talk a little bit more about Aristotle and round this out to talk about what the highest goal is. So when Maslow was talking about self-actualization being one of our highest goals, he actually wasn't talking about something new. All the way back in ancient Greek times, and I'm sure in other times in history as well, a guy named Aristotle, a philosopher named Aristotle, wrote about it, talked about it, and said, you know what? One of the highest goals, or the highest goal of being a human being, is a word that he called eudaimonia. Eudaimonia. And if the translation into English typically has been happiness, that the highest goal we have is happiness. But I've also read that that's a very weak translation. There's a much richer word and isn't exactly like our idea maybe of happiness. Of, here we go. I love being here. I have a great car. I have a great house, or things are just happy for me emotionally right now. It had a deeper meaning that literally meant you means good, and daimonia means soul. So actually having a good or a healthy soul. So that the deepest part of you is good. That's the highest goal. And so going back to what Maslow was talking about, that you fulfilling what your potential is, you being your best, to the extent that you're doing that, and the extent that real estate investing and financial independence push you to become the best person you can be. And there was a word for that in Greek as well, one of my favorite words, called arete. So living with your best, doing your best from moment to moment to moment is what arete means. And in ancient Greece, that was the highest thing. That was the highest goal we could try to accomplish, the best thing we could do. Having things, accomplishing things, yes, that's nice, but how is it doing for eudaimonia? How's your soul? What are you accomplishing? So I want to put that out there to you. This is something I journal about every day. It's real quick. I just write down the word eudaimonia. I do the little triangle with Maslow to remember self-actualization. I write down the things that matter to me, the values, the people. If you do that for 60 seconds, if you do that for 5 minutes, and then you get into your day, I promise you, you're going to have some focus, you're going to have some direction, and you're going to remember what matters to you. And you know what? At the end of the day, if you said you've done a little bit of what matters for a moment or two, even if you've messed up in the morning and you've gotten better and you've improved a little bit, that's all you can ask. So I hope that's helpful for you. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe if you're new here and share it with your friends. Give me a like and let me know in the comments what you think about the highest goal. What are the things that are important to you? Have you read any Aristotle? Do you like any of this ancient wisdom applied to modern life? And what do you journal about? Do you write things down in the morning? I would love to hear from you in the comments, and I'll reply to you as well and let you know what I think. Have a great day. Thanks for being here.